Dorico 6 contains a number of notation and engraving improvements, covering page layout, musical markings, text, and lyrics. I'd love to whiz through some of them with you now. Flow headings are customizable templates that are inserted at the top of each flow, with information about that movement, song, number, exercise, whatever the flow is being used for. Previously, it was possible to apply a flow heading change on a specific page, allowing you to have different flow headings in front of different flows. This didn't help in the case of shorter flows, where there may be more than one per page. In Dorico 6 Pro, you can now specify a flow heading for each specific flow in your project, meaning you can customize precisely the start of each section of music. Particularly useful when creating multi-movement music that might have extra directions before each flow, such as musical theatre music, and also for worksheets where different questions might be structured differently. You create flow heading overrides, as they're named, in setup mode by right-clicking the layout you wish to work with and choosing Flow Heading Overrides. All flows will use the default flow heading until chosen from the list and a new flow heading specified. You can even set custom top and bottom margins here as well, which you can do whether or not you've even set a different flow heading. As you can see, it really makes the page layout of multi-movement works so much easier to manage, especially as none of this creates page overrides, so all automatic layout behavior will continue to operate as usual. There's lots of new customization options for staff labels. You can now optionally choose to place staff labels outside of the page margins. Now, the good thing about forcing staff labels inside the page margins is that they will never risk running off the page. The bad thing about forcing staff labels inside the page margins is that they're often different lengths from page to page, especially if you're hiding empty staves, which in turn means the width of the music system can also vary from page to page. If your engraving house style calls for equal width systems, placing staff labels outside the page margins means you can easily achieve this. Just remember that you will need to update your page templates to allow sufficient room for the longest staff label in your project. Perhaps allow for the width of full staff labels on the first page template and abbreviated staff labels in the default page template. Sometimes it's customary to show the staff for a solo instrument in a piano accompaniment layout a little smaller. You can now scale the staff label along with the staff itself. It's now possible to show player group labels even when staff labels are not shown. System and frame breaks allow you to set custom staff label visibility in their properties. You can now also choose to show or hide player group labels separate from staff labels at those breaks. Let's look at some improvements with musical markings. When you have a double bar line at the end of a system, you can now show a double bar line at the start of the next system. There's an option to center align bar numbers at the start of systems. Tempo markings are now drawn using paragraph styles rather than font styles. This means you can set different font sizes for tempo markings shown in the full score to those in instrumental parts, particularly useful in large scores that use smaller staff sizes. There are styles for immediate tempos, gradual tempos, and a new dedicated style for metronome marks, so you can control them without affecting symbols drawn with the existing music text character style. Talking of tempo styles, some scores show relative tempo changes, such as Meno Mosso, drawn in the same style as gradual tempo changes, so we've made it possible to do that in Dorico. You can now set a property on playing techniques to show them parenthesized. In fact, you can create playing techniques from the popover directly with parentheses. This used to create a hidden playing technique. To do that now, type square brackets in the playing techniques popover. There's a new engraving option to show harmonics on all notes in a tie chain. And in fact, you can do this for all glyph-based playing techniques. On the Continuation tab of the Edit Playing Techniques dialog, when you set a continuation type to repeat the signs, you can choose to include notes in tie chains. You can now create tapered curved lines. We've added some presets for things like the horizontal curved lines with arrowheads that you might see in some teaching materials, and vertical braces that can be used in lyrics as you reach the refrain. You can create your own as well in the Edit Line Bodies dialog, with all sorts of controls for determining the appearance and behavior of the curved line. We've added lots of improvements to text in Dorico 6. An entire new text font family is now installed with Dorico. Splentino, created by Ben Byron Wigfield, is a new digital recreation of Monotype's Plantin typeface. This version is closer to the original metal type of Plantin, which was narrower than Monotype's own digital version. And that means Splentino is more suitable for music typesetting, where horizontal space is always at a premium. The font is gorgeous, and I'm already using it for many of my own projects. Splentino also supports some OpenType features, and Dorico 6 can now enable glyph positioning and substitution features in OpenType fonts for paragraph styles, character styles, and font styles. This means that if a font supports any of these OpenType features, you'll be able to add them to a new section of the paragraph, character, and font styles dialogues. For example, you might like to set the title paragraph style to use small caps. Also in the paragraph styles dialog, there are new controls to specify the default placement of styles above or below the staff, as well as the vertical distance from the staff and a horizontal offset to the rhythmic position for the text item. Use these along with the existing feature to set key commands for paragraph styles for super quick access to your custom text markings. And you can set the text case for each paragraph style. Now you can enter your project info and then choose to display it in the main title in all caps, but in sentence case in other places. Finally, some improvements to lyrics. It's now possible to edit the duration of a lyric using the standard key commands for lengthening and shortening items, Shift, Alt, and the left and right arrow keys. This means you can set groups of lyrics for different voices to have matching duration lines, even if a specific voice doesn't strictly need it. In write mode, Alt and the left and right arrow keys, that's Option on Mac, now move lyrics from word to word rather than to the next rhythmic grid position, and you can drag them as well, making for much easier editing. And finally, MIDI import and export now include lyrics. We really hope you enjoy using these new notation and engraving features. Please do look out for my other videos about all the other new features in Dorico 6. It really is a jam-packed release, so it's worth taking some time to find out what's included. I'm Anthony Hughes. Thanks for watching.